Hi everyone, I am Srinivas Rao, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, Dr. B.R.R. College, Jadcherla. Welcome to today's class. We'll talk about chemiosmosis. In chemiosmosis, the free energy from the series of redox reactions just described is used to pump hydrogen ions across the membrane. The uneven distribution of hydrogen ions across the membrane establishes both concentration and electrical gradients. Owing to the hydrogen ion positive charge and their aggregations on one side of the membrane. Before we are going to discuss about chemiosmosis process. Previously, we discussed about a process called as electron transport chain. You are aware that in the process of electron transportation, the electrons donated by NaDH2 is received by electron acceptor oxygen. With the involvement of the series of protein complexes which are embedded in the mitochondrial matrix membrane, or else in prokaryotes it is prokaryotic membrane. A series of electron carriers transported these electrons from NaDH2 to oxygen and converted oxygen into water, which result in the movement of protons. For example, we'll go to previous slide. Yeah, here if you see,
sorry, I don't understand.
if you see here, the electron transport chain, when NaDH molecule is reduced and it released electrons, the so-called electrons travel from complex 1 to quinone and to the complex 3 and through cytochrome, and this was the path of the electron to the complex 4 and is donated to the oxygen, and soon the oxygen received the proton and converted into the electrons. There are 2 electrons donated by the NaDH molecule. During this process, when there is a reduction of NaDH molecule takes place, there is a movement of protons across the membrane takes place. There are 4 protons. 4 protons are transferred across the membrane of the complex 1 from inside of the mitochondrial matrix to the periplasmic space. If it is in the case of prokaryotes, from cytoplasm to the periplasmic space above the plasma membrane. And the electrons which are transferred to quinone, this quinone get reduced and receives the proton and it can oxidize, and it's a Q cycle takes place here. And here, from this particular complex, including quinone, there are 4 protons. There are 4 protons will migrate from inside to the outside. And from complex 1 and from complex 4, there are 2 protons will migrate from inside to the outside. When one NaDH molecule oxidizes and donates its electron to the oxygen. During this process, the energy released by the NADH will make a movement of protons. There are 10 protons. The 10 protons moves from inside of the membrane to the outside. 10 protons. When FADH2 molecule reduces, means when FADH2 molecule oxidizes, means here the succinate converted to malate. In this particular case, from here, as usual, 4 protons. From here, as usual, 2 protons. So here, when one FADH2 molecule reduces, it will pump 4 plus 2, 6 protons from inside to the outside of the membrane. So what happens is it's a process of electron transport chain. The electrons are being transported, but the energy created where the protons are being pumped outside from inside to the outside. For each and every molecule of NADH and FADH2 oxidizes. These are reduced molecules. When they oxidizes to convert FAD and NAD, and they move the protons from into out. When you look at the process from glycolysis to tricarboxylic acid cycle, glycolysis process to the tricarboxylic acid cycle, during these two processes, there are 10 NADH2 molecules are produced and 2 FADH2 molecules are produced. How many? 10 NADH2s and 2 FADH2 molecules. Each NADH molecule will pump 10 protons. Means there are 10 NADH molecules into 10 protons is equal to almost 100 protons are pumped inside to the outside. This is 2 into 6, 12. When a process of glycolysis and tricarboxylic acid cycle occur, these reduced components undergo electron transport chain. They pump almost all 112 hydrogen ions from inside to the outside. Inside to the outside. This is because of one glucose molecule. It's all because of one glucose molecule breakdown. When one glucose molecule breakdown forms into 2 pyruvates enter into tricarboxylic acid cycle, yes, 112 protons will be pumped out. Imagine how many amount of glucose molecules are there in the cell, and when they break down, they produces NADH2 and FADH2. They undergo electron transport chain and they participate in the proton movement, and they are going to create a proton motive force PMF across the membrane. Now here all the protons will move from inside to the outside. Now the outside the proton concentration will increase. Now the proton gradient system will increase. The concentration of the protons will increase abruptly outside, so it leads to the increase of the proton motive force. Then again the problem comes. Then imagine any number of glucose molecules, they participate in glycolysis process and tricarboxylic acid cycle. They pump enormous amount of hydrogen ions and it increases proton motive force. Now again, what happens here? The whole process, where does this whole process occur? The process of glycolysis, for example, the glycolysis and TCA cycle, occurs inside. Means here to occur this process we require a NAD plus and FAD. Now again they need to reduce and they should get back to the NADH2 and FADH2. And what do they require? They require of these protons again that should come inside. They require of the protons. Now to balance the protons, then what is the proper channel of the proton movement? What is the proper channel for the proton movement? Because it is the membrane which has a specific nature and is the lipid bilayer, is the protein molecule, and all these molecules are the lipid molecules, semi-permeable, where proton molecule cannot enter through the membrane. It cannot transport across the membrane. It requires a medium, it requires a channel, it requires some protein complexes which will bring protons into the inside again. There must be a proper path for the movement of protons from outside of the membrane to the inside. Who does this activity? It is done by an enzyme called as ATP synthase. It is done by an enzyme called as ATP synthase. Here, a wonderful event is going to occur every time. That is, there is a process of oxidative phosphorylation. There is a process of oxidative phosphorylation. What occurs? During the process of oxidative phosphorylation, with the involvement of ATP synthase enzyme, these protons will bring inside and make the formation of ATP. Make the formation of ATP. I will see. Now this process we call as chemiosmosis. If the membrane were open to diffusion by the hydrogen ions, the ions would tend to diffuse back across into the matrix, driven by the electrochemical gradient. But many ions cannot diffuse through the non-polar regions of the phospholipid membranes. It cannot pass through the phospholipid membranes without aid of a ion channels. Similarly, hydrogen ions, the matrix space can only pass through the inner mitochondrial membrane through integral membrane protein called as ATP synthase. We require an ion channel which transports protons from periplasmic space into the inside. This complex protein acts as a tiny generator turned by a force of hydrogen ion diffusing through it down their electrochemical gradient. The turning of parts, this molecular mission facilitates the additional phosphate to ADP forming ATP. Using the potential energy of the hydrogen ion gradient. This is what happens. This is what happens in chemiosmosis process, and during this process, a oxidative phosphorylation takes place by the use of ATP synthase mechanism, and they provide ATP. You see, oxidative phosphorylation. What is this process? The process of oxidative phosphorylation uses the energy of proton gradient established by the electron transport system as a mean of phosphorylating ADP to make ATP. The establishment of proton gradient depends upon electron transport, as I said previously. If inner mitochondrial membrane impermeable to proton is compromised, oxidative phosphorylation will not occur because without the proton gradient. Means if it is compromised, impermeability of the membrane is compromised, then there is no mechanism called as oxidative phosphorylation. And there is no meaning of the proton gradient system and driving of the energy. So that's why the membrane is so permeable. and it won't allow any protons to go in as if they want. Hence, there is a oxidative phosphorylation occurs. Oxidative phosphorylation occurs. What happens? The antiport movement, that ATP out of the matrix, a change of ADP moving the matrix. The transport system is driven by the concentration of ADP and ATP and ensures that level of ADP are maintained within the mitochondrion, permitting continued ATP synthesis. One of the last requirement of the ATP is synthesis of ATP from ADP. Phosphate must be also imported into the matrix. This is accomplished by the action of phosphotranslocase. What do you require? You require ADP must be converted to ATP. You require one more inorganic phosphate. Who will transport that? That is transported by an enzyme called as phosphotranslocase, which is a symport that moves phosphate into the mitochondrial matrix along with the proton. I think in previous sections we learned about symport and antiport. Symport means the movement of ions or molecules along with the proton. That is symport. Antiport means when a proton moves outside, when one other ion will come inside, that is called as antiport mechanism. So the electron transport system charges the battery of oxidative phosphorylation by pumping the protons out of the mitochondrion. The intact inner membrane of the mitochondrial membrane keeps the proton out, except for those that are re-entered through the ATP synthesis. The ATP synthesis allows proton to re-enter the mitochondrial matrix and harvest their energy to make ATP. Now we'll see how the ATP synthesis mechanism. Now we see this is the mitochondrial matrix. This is the mitochondrial matrix. This is the mitochondrial matrix. This is the membrane. This is the membrane. Now, this is the ATP synthase. This is the ATP synthase. When you look at the ATP synthase, it has two steps, F0 and F1. F0 and F1. F1 is submerged in the membrane, it present across the membrane. It is a fixed one. It is a fixed one. Whereas F1 is like a shaft which has a bearing and which rotates. And which has different stacks, C, gamma, epsilon stacks, and alpha, beta, epsilon, gamma. These are the different kind of domains which helps. Now this is the delta which will use it for the rotation, of the stack takes place. Means what happens here? See, you see here, this is the how a proton will, the stack will rotate. This is the rotation of the stack. Now, what happens? ADP, PI. Now we got it. It's almost like there's the bearing which rotates. Now it is rotating like this. So rotating like this, and the ATP are becoming also, and it is becoming ADP, and like this ATP. Now ATP. Now this is all. Now the protons will come inside like this, and which brings the movement of ADP to combine with one of the inorganic phosphate and to turn into ATP. Means here the movement of the proton across the ATP synthase, which creates an energy. That energy will make ADP to make into the ATP. For the formation of ATP, means ADP combines with this, and to get ATP, you require 4 protons. You require 4 protons. 4 protons. But when you speak with respect to the glycolysis and PCA cycle, means one glucose molecule, when it undergoes this process, as I said, it produces 10 NADH molecules, 2 FADH molecules. According to the calculations I already told you, we produce almost 112 hydrogen ions per one glucose molecule. With this, one NADH molecule will give away 2.5 ATP. One NADH molecule will give away 2.5 ATP, and one FADH molecule will give away 1.5 ATP. It will give away 1.5 ATP. Like this, when you multiply it with, now you will get 10 into 2.5, and how many you have? You have only 2. 2 into 1.5. With this you will get 25. With this you will get 3. Together you will receive 28 ATPs. Means when one glucose molecule breaks down and participates in the glycolysis and tricarboxylic acid cycle, it produces 28 ATPs. The way through which the reduced molecules undergo electron transport chain and through ATP synthase, now these ATPs are produced. Now this process we call as oxidative phosphorylation, OXP. Oxidative phosphorylation. But there is another process called as substrate level phosphorylation. Substrate level phosphorylation. During substrate level phosphorylation, one product is converted to another product. For example, 1,3-bis-phosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. There one ATP comes, and phosphoenol pyruvate converted to pyruvate. There is another ATP come. During glycolysis, from glucose, we'll get net yield of 2 ATPs. At the same time, during tricarboxylic acid cycle, we'll get one GTP molecule. GTP is equivalent to ATP. There you will get 2 GTPs. Together, there are 4 ATPs during substrate level phosphorylation. When 28 plus 4, which gives rise to 32 ATPs. When one glucose molecule undergo oxidation, it transforms into different substances. So what is the main crux of the cellular respiration? The main crux of the cellular respiration is when one glucose molecule undergo complete oxidation, it produces 32 ATPs of energy. Apart from that, it produces pyruvate, it produces acetyl-CoA, produce citrate, it produces isocitrate, it produces alpha-ketoglutarate, it produces succinyl-CoA, it produces succinate, it produces fumarate, malate, oxaloacetate. And apart from that, we have many anaphylactic reactions where the PCA cycle will be bypassed and you will get glyoxylate cycle. You will get a glyoxylate. You will get different components, a biosynthetic. All these are different molecules which are synthesized during the complete oxidation of glucose, and you will get all these molecules. These molecules will act as a precursor for the synthesis of many amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and all the things which are required for the cellular activity. This was the beauty of the cellular activity. Under this, the cell undergoes aerobic respiration. With this, a glucose molecule completely oxidizes and we can make use of the electron transport chain and the process of oxidative phosphorylation, especially by the ATP synthase. It produces huge amount of ATPs, that is 28 ATPs. Together, we'll get 32. This was the energy production during the cellular respiration. Does any hindrance mechanisms? Does it any drug will inhibit this process? Certainly yes. There are some drugs which inhibit the electron transport chain. See, electron transport chain can be inhibited Yes, there are drugs which will inhibit the process. Say electron inhibitors. There are common inhibitors of electron transport chain including retinine, serotonin, amytal, which stop the movement of the electron past the complex 1, and malonate and malate and oxaloacetate, which inhibit the movement of electrons through complex 2, and antimycin A, which stop the movement of electron through complex 3, and cyanide and carbon monoxide, and azide and hydrogen sulfide H2S, which inhibit the electron movement through complex 4. All of these compounds can stop the electron transport directly. And also oxidative phosphorylation indirectly. If there is no ETC, there is no oxidative phosphorylation. So the complex 1 is inhibited by the malonate and malate. So retinine amytal, the malonate and malate oxaloacetate will inhibit the complex 2, and antimycin stop the movement of the complex 3, and cyanide, carbon monoxide and azide and hydrogen sulfide, they inhibit the electron transport chain complex 4. So while some of these compounds not commonly known, but almost all everybody are aware about carbon monoxide, cyanide. Both these can be lethal. And ATP synthase can also be inhibited. ATP synthase and oxidative phosphorylation, they can directly inhibited by some of the drugs like oligomycin A, which inhibits the ATP synthase. Oligomycin A, which inhibits the ATP synthase activity. These are some of the drugs and chemicals which inhibit the electron transport chain and ATP synthase activity. During cellular respiration, especially under aerobic respiration, the cellular system or a cell undergo the complete oxidation of the glucose molecule, and it produces different precursors and produces the energy. We studied electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation with respect to the eukaryotic cells. In next lesson, we'll learn about a bacterial electron transport chain and oxidative phosphorylation. But don't worry, the process is very much similar. There is a slight change in the electron carriers and arrangement of the complexes, but the whole process of the ATP synthesis and transportation of the electrons in the membrane of the bacteria are similar with the eukaryotic electron transport chain. Thank you.